The story you're about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts about historical characters, events, or locations. Please sit back and listen as I narrate this story to you. On Wednesday, January 2nd, 1935, a man calling himself as Roland T. Owen checked into the Hotel President in Kansas City at 1:20 p.m. in room 1046 on the 10th floor. Owen appeared stressed to the hotel staff. A few days later, after checking into the hotel, Owen was discovered in a dreadful state in his room with blood all over the place. He was found fatally wounded and died the next day. The murder is still unsolved to this day. According to witnesses, he appeared to be between the ages of 20 and 35. He had brown hair, a scar above his ear on his scalp, and a cauliflower ear, which made him think that he may be a boxer. Randolph Propts, the bellboy, showed Owen to his room and noticed that Owen had no luggage and had only brought out a toothbrush, comb, and a toothpaste from his overcoat pocket. Owen told him on the way to the room that he had spent the night before at the nearby Muleback Hotel, but had found the $5 nightly rate, now $100 in current dollars, to be too high. After Owen placed them above the sink, he and Propts left the room. Propts locked the door and handed over the key to Owen. He saw Owen leave the hotel after returning to the lobby. A short time later, one of the hotel maids, Mary Suptic, returned from a day off to work the afternoon shift. She entered room 1046 and was surprised to see Owen there, as a woman had been in the room the night before. She apologized, but he told her she could clean the room anyway. While she was doing so, she noticed that he had the shades drawn and only one dim lamp turned on. This was true when she encountered Owen in the room on other occasions during his stay. After a few minutes of cleaning, Owen put on his overcoat and brushed his hair. He then left, but asked her to leave the room unlocked because he had some friends coming over in a few minutes. Suptic returned at 4 p.m. to deliver new towels. She discovered the door was still unlocked from when she had cleaned the room earlier that afternoon, and when she entered, she found Owen fully clothed on top of his still-made bed, seemingly asleep. A note on his bedside table read, "Dawn, I will be back in 15 minutes. Wait." The next day, January 3rd, she stopped by around 10:30 a.m. to make the beds and discovered Owen's door was locked from the outside, just as it was when customers left. She used her master key to open the door, assuming Owen was not inside. Owen was sitting inside, in the dark, in the chair in the corner of the room, much to her surprise. The phone rang while she was cleaning, and Owen answered it. "No, Dawn, I don't want to eat. I am not hungry, I just had breakfast," he said. After a moment, he repeated, "No, I am not hungry." Owen began questioning Suptic about her job and the hotel after he hung up, the first time he had ever actually really spoken to her. He asked her how many rooms she was in charge of, what kind of people lived in the President Hotel, if any, and complained about the neighboring hotel's price yet again. Suptic responded quickly, completed the cleaning, and left Owen alone in the room 1046. It wasn't until she was gone that she realized, because the door had been locked from the outside, that someone had locked Owen in his room. Suptic returned later that day with fresh towels, having taken the ones from the room that morning. However, this time when she knocked, she heard two voices in the room rather than just Owen. When she announced that she had new towels, a deep, loud voice told her to leave, claiming they had plenty of towels. Suptic left the two men alone despite knowing she had removed all the towels from the room that morning, not wanting to intrude on what was clearly a sensitive and private conversation. The hotel phone operator noticed Owen's phone was off the hook at 7 a.m. on the morning of January 4. Propts, the bellboy, was dispatched to repair his phone. Propts noticed the door was locked and a "Do Not Disturb" sign was hung on the doorknob. When he knocked on the door, Owen told him to come in. However, when the bellhop informed Owen that the door was locked, he received no response. The bellhop knocked again, then yelled for Owen to hang up the phone, assuming Owen had simply been drunk and hung up. The hotel management sent another bellboy, Harold Pike into his room at 8:30 a.m. He entered Owen's room with the hotel pass key. Pike noticed Owen was naked on his bed, apparently drunk, and that the bedding beneath him was dark in color. The bellboy returned after repairing the phone. Owen's phone was discovered disconnected from the hook at 10:30 a.m. Props went to fix the problem and was met with utter horror. When he opened the door, he noticed Owen kneeling on the floor. There was blood all over the place. The walls, ceiling, bath, and beddings were all splattered with blood. Props freaked out and stormed out of the room. Owen was discovered in his room covered in gruesome injuries. A cord was wrapped around his neck, wrists, and ankles. He appeared to have been tortured and strangled. He'd been hit on the head several times. His skull had been fractured. He was stabbed several times in the chest, puncturing his lungs. As a result of strangulation, he had bruises on his neck. The blood had stained the bedsheets and towels, and it had splattered the walls. When one of the detectives arrived on the scene, he asked Owen who had done this to him. He responded that he had fallen and hit his head on the bathtub. He was asked if he was trying to kill himself, but after replying no, he lost consciousness and was then taken to the hospital. Owen died from his injuries on January 5th, leaving a long list of unanswered questions about the case. The injuries on Owen's body, according to a doctor, occurred 6 to 7 hours before his death. The autopsy concluded that the murderer was torturing Owen by repeatedly disconnecting his phone from the hook. The officers searched Owen's room for evidence of his alleged suicide. As he claimed, no one entered his room. They did not, however, discover a weapon that could be used to commit suicide. As a result, the suicide theory was discarded. There were no clothes in the room and nothing matched Roland Owen's description when he checked in. Hotel amenities such as soap and toothpaste were also missing, as was any weapon that could have been used in the murder. The only thing of note discovered by the detectives were 4 small fingerprints on the telephone stand, which were never identified. As the investigation progressed, police discovered that Roland Owen was faking his identity. Owen had informed hotel management that he was from Los Angeles. However, Roland T. Owen's records were denied by authorities in Los Angeles. Soon after, the neighboring hotel, about which Owen had complained, came forward, claiming that a man matching the description had stayed there on January 1st. Eugene K. Scott was his name when he checked in. However, after further investigation, the police came to the same conclusion as they had with Roland T. Owen. There was no record of a man named Eugene K. Scott ever existing. Many people called the police to see if Owen was the person they had lost contact with, but none of the identification stuck. Finally, the investigation came to a halt and the detectives decided to bury the body. A random call was received by the burial authorities shortly after Owen's death. A man insisted that he be buried in the Memorial Park Cemetery. He promised to pay for Owens' funeral expenses. An anonymous sender delivered flowers and money wrapped in newspaper to the funeral home on March 23, 1935. The flowers and money were accompanied by a card that read, "Love Forever, Louise." In 1936, a woman named Ruby Ogletree identified Owen as her son and informed the police that his name was Artemus Ogletree, not Roland T. Owen. Artemus had written 3 letters to Ruby before his death. Ruby claimed that the letters did not appear to be written in Artemus's usual tone. The police also discovered that Mrs. Ogletree remained in Kansas City during her child's murder, further complicating the case. Like other unsolved murders, there are several theories as to who could have committed the crime. Here are 3 theories that are circulating. Murder theory number 1. The investigators came up with a theory that the person named Don had a feud with Artemus. He assassinated Artemus and fled with it. The police also suspected that Mrs. Ogletree and Don had lived together briefly in Kansas City at the time Artemus was killed. Murder theory number 2. The second theory arose from an interrogation of the hotel's elevator operator, Charles Blotcher. Blotcher claimed to have seen a young woman looking for room 1026. However, she appeared perplexed and she may have confused room 1026 with room 1046. Blotcher also stated that he later saw the lady with a man who could have been Dawn. Artemis's room contained female fingerprints. Dawn and the young lady may have murdered Artemis and fled the hotel. Murder theory number 3. The third theory was the most popular among the general public. Investigators suspected Artemis of cheating on his fiancée, and in a fit of rage, his fiancée murdered him with the assistance of her brother. The anonymous person who was willing to fund Artemis's funeral requested that he be buried in the Memorial Park Cemetery because it was close to his sister's home. This man was linked to Artemis's mysterious murder, according to the police. To this day, the case remains unsolved, with the Kansas Police Department reopening it yearly as new evidence emerges. For the time being, it appears that the mystery of room 1046 will never be solved. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took time out of your day to listen to my narration. This is Nikki of Twysted Mind, and I'd like to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Salamat!